Everyone. Welcome to my bilingual podcast and now a YouTube channel. It's called A New Wind en Vent Nouveau. L'Afrique en podcast in French or podcast Africa in podcasts. So the idea of this, I was actually invited 4 years ago to speak up about Africa. And my name is Marguerite, and I go by Margot. I think Margot is easier for a lot of people. So, yes, Margot is fine. And I was invited to speak up about Africa. I have a master's degree in international relations, and I do have experience in hosting at the radio. And also, I do have my own podcast online. You can find me on all the platforms: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Apple Cast, Google Podcasts, and all of them actually. A lot of them actually. So, and I do also have a website, www a new slash wind.com. So I will add all the links to my website and other online platform you can find me. So the speaking up about Africa is has come a long way, honestly. And the idea behind this podcast or YouTube channel is to invite on a weekly basis African entrepreneurs and men and women of vision who are real entrepreneurs, real business owners on the continent or outside of Africa. We would like to hear about them so they can share the good news of their business and also the good news that's happening inside of the continent. Yes, Africa is not always presented and in mass media in a glorious way. They don't even present us in a fair way. It's very degrading. And from a personal experience and professional experience, and I do want my kid to grow up in an environment where perceptions have evolve in regard to African and the African communities. So that's the reason why I am speaking up about Africa and I am inviting all the African. I am positively discriminating. You have to be black and you have to be African descendant to be invited to my podcast. And I'm not saying this podcast is only for Africans. It is also for all the other communities that are really curious about us and they're really wanting to truthfully discover who we are really, and not just stick to the stigmas and stick to the stereotypes that we have in mass media. So please follow my channel and stay with us. Stay tuned about Africa. We will be receiving entrepreneurs that, like I said, they have small to up to 200 employees in Africa or outside of Africa. They will be telling us about entrepreneurship in Africa, business in Africa, life in Africa, investing in Africa, all this good stuff. Really, Africa, everyday Africa, normal Africa, because what we see in the media when there's an outbreak of any disease, Ebola or COVID, that's exceptional. That's not our routine. African people do have a normal routine where we create wealth, where we're happy people, where we're healthy, we're well fed, and there's also all these negative things. I'm not gonna name them. You know them way too well, but those are not the those are exceptions, really they are. And there are so many other things happening, and that's why we have this channel, and that's why we would be enjoying talking about Africa. Talk to you soon. Bye.